Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with the 31 days of cop films and gangster films from the year 1970 to the present. And that brings us to, I think, a great gangster film from this particular period. The year is 1997, and the filmmaker that we will be talking about, or the filmmaker whose film we will be talking about now, is the great filmmaker who is the one, the only, Bill Duke. Bill Duke directed a film, again from 97, and it has this splendid cast, included in which are Tim Roth, Vanessa Williams, Andy Garcia, Cicely Tyson, Clarence Williams III, and Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne as Bumpy Johnson, in a story that takes place in 1920s New York, primarily in Harlem, although there are other places that are also on display, in this gangster-filled, intense action film that also has its levels of over-the-top stylized elements to it, which is part of its proceedings, and I think done purposely so and very effectively so, and entertaining to great entertainment, I might add, as well as layering in great complexities of character and nuance that lead to a sense of moral ambiguity. When we talk about this film being filled with heroes that might not always be so heroic all the time, or on the other side of the coin, villains that might not necessarily be totally villainous. There might be some sympathetic aspects to them, and etc. So there is a lot there, and that is fueled so profoundly by the greatness of the performances that we are talking about. Now, the film in question is this. It is this work, Hoodlum, the Bill Duke directed film Hoodlum. And this is the film which is about Bumpy Johnson and his efforts at trying to stake a claim for his own livelihood and his own, identity, and therefore his existence, all the while trying to reacclimate himself with the various people that he meets in Harlem at this particular time, trying to establish a sense of organized criminal element, but it's always for the sake of some kind of purpose that he holds in his heart, in his character soul, while he meets various characters played by, say, Vanessa Williams and Cicely Tyson, etc., while at the same time trying to deal with the threat posed by the incoming threat posed by the figures, Dutch Schultz, and maybe, who knows, possibly, although that's one of the great questions too, what it is that Lucky Luciano also poses in terms of a threat, or perhaps not a threat. But that's one of the great points of intrigue that we have in this wonderful stylized display of character, and also stylized action and cinema entertainment in the gangster genre. This is the film Hoodlum, a very entertaining film indeed. Now, I should say that it is, as I say, in my view, a very stylized gangster action film, in the sense that there are a number of set pieces that are quite intense, quite violent indeed, but it always is done in a way to serve the purposes of the story. There are some moments that are quite off-putting in terms of the sudden shock or surprise of what it is we are looking at. And that's part of, I would suggest, the purposefully stylized over-the-topness of some of the aspects of this film, which I think are done to great effect. It's not overly used. I think Bill Duke and company do a really excellent job in maintaining a sense of balance. There are some moments that are, yes, very much, again, part of the cinematic genre entertainment expectations of a film like this, we have those elements, I think, on display and done with such great vivid force and confidence that I think it's a real thrill to watch. It's very intense in many places, and so but it is very entertaining all the same. And then at the same time, we have the great nuance of character that is also on display, and that is due in great part to the way in which these characters are fleshed out in the performances from these great performers, these great actors. So, for instance, I mentioned Bumpy Johnson and Dutch Schultz and Lucky Luciano. They are portrayed by Lawrence Fishburne and Tim Roth and Andy Garcia, respectively, as well as some other great characters. Cicely Tyson is mentioned, Vanessa Williams' character is mentioned, Clarence Williams III as well. We should explain, or we should point out that each of these characters, especially the characters of Bumpy Johnson or the Lawrence Fishburne character and the Andy Garcia character, Lucky Luciano, also Clarence Williams, the third character, etc., they are given such depth and scope that we are oftentimes confronted with the possibility that a character that we might perceive as being heroic might not always be heroic. In other words, a protagonist that we follow in the film might do things that, on the one hand, might seem to be courageous or very much advantageous to some kind of quote unquote greater good that is set forth in the context of the film. But then certain elements come in, like the idea of power or paranoia and corruption, that lead to a type of dark moral ambiguity of certain characters that we have hitherto thought of as being, as I say, our protagonist or a character of a certain degree or espousing a sense of heroism. And so I think that is the great strength of a film like Hoodlum, because in the hands of great performance like Lawrence Fishburne, who does this so well, we get these complex portraits that, again, further our own curiosity into the world, as well as give us a guidance as to watching these characters and experiencing their stories, not as two-dimensional cutouts, but rather as flesh and blood human being characters. And I think that is the great strength, because once we get that hook as viewers, we are along for the ride, and we are thrilled when they are thrilled. We are scared when they are scared, and we are absorbed when they are being confronted or they are being consumed by some kind of morass of a moral plight or quandary, etc. So this is, I think, the great strength of a film like Hoodlum, because while we have those wonderful spectacle moments of action entertainment that are part of the gangster film genre and that are done so well and so thrillingly by Bill Duke and company, we also have at the same time this level or room for this type of character exploration and development. Now, Lawrence Fishburne is a great example of that. Another great example is Clarence Williams III. I must say, once again, what a great actor Clarence Williams III is. And his character, his portrayal of this particular character, again, is almost like the opposite side of the coin in many ways. In other words, we have a character whom we think might be on one side of the protagonist-antagonist axis. But as the film progresses, we realize that that division becomes more and more blurred, because, again, we are privy to the, I think, wide scope of the humanity of the characters, such that we can reinterpret and reassess what we had initially thought of a particular character when we first met him or her. And the Clarence Williams III character is a great example of this. We might have a certain conception of what this character is and who it is, what it is he represents at the start of the film, but as the film progresses, my goodness, the potential for that changing is there. And if it does occur in the hearts and minds of the viewer, it is a really stunning transformation indeed. And so that is another great example of the idea of moral ambiguity. Things are not always cut and dried. It's not a clear case, and it's not a clear divide between good and evil. There is that ambiguous area that this film is dealing with, and it is propelled, I think, so well and so in such a fine-tuned and brilliant way by the degree and level of the performances. And I should mention too, Dutch Schultz character, Tim Roth, who plays this this other side of the protagonist antagonist struggle with great relish and a type of over the topness and almost a volatility that really adds a sense of it adds a sense of that over the top nature, which is very important because it also reminds us of the escapist nature of this great entertainment on the one hand, but at the same time, it gives us great deal of tension in all the scenes that he is in because there is a volatility that is linked to an unpredictability, which is really quite shocking and frightening. And too, there are moments of his own humanity bursting forth, or maybe quietly peeking their way through the curtain, so to speak. So this is a great example of that wonderful, a nuanced ambiguity, even in characters that we might assume would be wholly protagonist or wholly antagonist. And the same is true for great character representation that Andy Garcia brings to the table in his portrayal of the Lucky Luciano character. Here we have another multi-layered a nuanced performance that again adds to the sense of tension and also mystery, and also that tension and suspense is linked to the direct, say, entertainment genre elements of the film. Again, as it's confidently placing itself within this gangster genre so forcefully and so strongly. At the same time, there is room for that area of this air of mystery, as another way to put it, which is where do the characters stand in terms of to what sides they owe their allegiances to, and I think the same is can certainly be said for a character like the Andy Garcia character, Lucky Luciano character. So, and then that is just another great example of the way in which other characters are portrayed here. So we have, I think, I would suggest a great mix, a great combination of strong entertainment values combined with this wonderful scope of depth of character and depth of soul. And I think it's balanced so well that it becomes almost imperceptible. So you can, I think, draw a lot from it on initial view and then upon repeat view and upon a repeat view and upon a repeat view, because it is that enthralling and that entertaining. I would say too that maybe maybe the film Hoodlum. I'm not sure, but my general personal assessment of it, or my sense of it, is that maybe it doesn't get as much attention as a film within this particular genre as, say, other films that often make the top 10 favorite gangster film lists of various critics, etc. But if it finds its way on one of those lists, that makes me very happy. The more attention that this film gets, I think, the better. I think it's a great example of Bill Duke's great talent as an artist and as a great director, film cinema director. It also, as I say, is firmly rooted in the genre so well and so thrillingly, and also gives us a sense of scope and heart and an insight into various portrayals of the human condition. And also it does in a very, I think, beautifully and it does it in a way that is very, I think, poetic and subtle. It also explores aspects of history and also explores aspects of, say, human psychology. It also explores aspects of race relations in the context of the various gangland turf war aspects that we see, both on the sort of street level, crime level aspects that lead to, I think, very direct displays of violence in the context of the film, as well as the higher levels of, say, crime organization, peace talks, and that sort of thing. And within those contexts, we have also the element of race and identity and race relations, I think, being portrayed in a very, very astute and a very pointed way. And again, it's one of the elements that is balanced so wonderfully and so confidently in this great great mix of genre points as well as character points and character beats, and great cinematic stylizations from the imagination of the artists at play. Of course, including the great director here, Bill Duke. So this is the work from 1997, which is Hoodlum. Okay, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very, very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.